Hello, everybody, and welcome back for the second segment of the July 8th Trips and Traps. I'm Andy Serling, once again, going alone this week. And we're going to look at two races for the second segment of the show. They're both turf races, and they were both run, I believe, on Saturday, July 4th? Yes, Saturday, July 4th it is. And we're going to start out, we're going to look at a maiden race, a maiden New York bred race, and a couple of horses that finished 1-2 in here. One is the 7, 2 Amenable, who was the second choice. The other is the 10, Globemaster, who ends up winning the race. Now, the favorite in this race was Compliance Officer, who finishes third. Compliance Officer actually ran extremely well, and is a horse that just can't seem to win a race, despite the fact that he's clearly good enough to win a race. But once again, it seems to be one tough pace after another. I thought that this was a situation where 2 Amenable, who's sitting fourth right now, as we showed you, and Globemaster back of the pack, where patience was rewarded. And Ramon Dominguez, who rode the winner in this race, once again showed why his patience works in these races. And truly, it's why Jerry Bailey, one of the reasons that Jerry Bailey was so successful in the turf, was he also was very patient. 2 Amenable and Globemaster are both in very good positions, because you can see there's an extremely contentious pace up front. In fact, the favorite Compliance Officer had to back off the speed of Don't You Linger, who ends up finishing last in here. When you have a horse like Compliance Officer with speed, he wants to have the front end, especially going a mile and a 16th. It's going to be hard for him to get it done. Now, I realize that 2 Amenable starts to drift back here, but it felt like the rider, Alan Garcia, and maybe the horse is getting out on him a little bit, and he's just sort of worried because he starts to get, as you can see, a very aggressive ride right in here as Garcia's asking him. Ramon, he has pinned down inside of him, which is a good thing to do, but Dominguez is not worried. He's just waiting in behind him. And as you're going to see right from this point on, you're going to see the difference between the way the two horses are being ridden. Globemaster being hard held by Ramon in the 2-path. 2 Amenable, Alan Garcia has already gone to the whip on him. Now, we're on the turn here. He goes the 4-path. Ramon does try to get out, but Garcia does a good job of keeping Dominguez inside of him. But as you watch, it's absolute patience here. 2 Amenable has now been in a drive for a good 3/16 of a mile, which a horse like him just can't sustain that kind of run. Globemaster, on the other hand, who shows that trouble line and did have some trouble, ultimately, he had the absolute perfect trip in this race because he was able to save the ground inside and wait and make that last move and just get up. For my money, 2 Amenable ran clearly the better race than Globemaster. Now, we'll see where they go going forward. Obviously, they won't be meeting a maiden race next time. 2 Amenable will be in a maiden race. He'll be a short price, and in all likelihood of win. On the other hand, you do worry a little bit the way Garcia had to get into him. Perhaps he's getting out, but he's one of these hard horses to handle. Globemaster, on the other hand, will show up with a trouble line his next race. I want no part of him. He got dynamics in his favor. He got a very, very good trip. This trouble that he had was completely mitigated by all the good things that happened for him. And Globemaster, I believe, found the right spot in this race. Angel Pena Jr. doing very well, but this is one I'll certainly be happy to bet against the next time he runs. And now we're going to go back to some more New York breds on the turf and a race later in the day. And I thought we saw a couple of interesting performances in here. Now, first of all, the eventual winner of the race, Dantastic, will end up breaking slowly, as you can see right there. Breaks almost a length slow, drops back a little bit. Ultimately, because of the dynamics of the race, he ran very well, Dantastic, I'm not taking anything away from him. For the dynamics of the race, it worked out for him being that far back because this race did collapse. The favorite in this race is right now second, and that's the 3 Mini Punt. Mini Punt ran incredibly well in here. He finished third. Now, he did lose by 7 lengths. On the other hand, when you consider the dynamics of the race and the other speed in here, finished dead last. I think that Mini Punt did run a very nice race here, and it's going to set him up when he gets back and probably runs against 3-year-old New York breds at Saratoga. But Solvent is the horse I found particularly interesting in here, and Solvent, as we showed, is back there in those sort of magenta silks, and he's moving up into about 7th on the inside. Now, he's enjoying a very good trip on the inside, though, frankly, he's closer than he is often in a lot of his races, and he's a horse that had been coming off 2 soft turf races here at Belmont, and a lot of the races we ran, we were able to get in the turf were unyielding and soft courses, and he was never able to get in those races. Now, this was his 3rd start in the form cycle, and he could have potentially run his best race here, but he was absolutely prevented from having any chance in here, as you'll see. Now, Mini Punt is still attending that pace. Dantastic has moved into the picture in last, but even though he got left a little to start, he does steady a little bit there, taking nothing away from them. As you're going to see as we get ready to turn for home, as both Solvent on the inside and Dantastic on the outside behind him are in very good position. They enjoy two completely different trips. And I think it's a lesson about getting overly married to being on the rail in turf races, and opposed to a horse like Dantastic, who has options. He's in the two-path with options, going outside, splitting horses, going inside. Solvent has no options. Solvent has to pray that things open up for him inside. Dantastic has eased the three-path. Yeah, he's in a little traffic, but he has no problem easing out. Not Solvent, who literally almost gets knocked over towards the back of the pack, completely and totally eliminated. It reminds me of a trip that a lot of you might have seen in the American Oaks run at Hollywood Sunday, where the horse, the magical horse for Mike Matz, got blocked in the same manner in this race. Solvent was completely eliminated. Am I saying he was going to win? I have no idea what he was going to do. But the bottom line is, and you can see it again in the head-on, and you can watch this again, because of being pinned down on the inside and saving that ground, he had nowhere to go. As you can see, almost went down. Solvent had no chance in this race, and he is a horse that could easily, if he gets a fair setup, and especially as we go to Saratoga. And the two-turn grass races, they're not run like the mile and an eighth races here around two turns. You see a lot more fair races, and a horse like Solvent will have a chance to get in the race, and I think Solvent very much deserves another chance against this group of horses. And Mini Punt, if he meets three-year-old New York breds in one of the stallion stakes up there in Saratoga, he'll be almost impossible to beat unless some odd stranger shows up. Anyway, that does it for this week's Trips and Traps. Once again, that email address is tripsandtraps@NYRAinc.com. Keep the emails coming. Eric will be back next week. We'll see you then.